Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today on Microsoft Teams. My name is Michael Shagru. I'm the president of Pace Technical. And if you're not familiar with us, we are a managed IT services provider working with about 70 businesses here in the Toronto area. We're pretty heavy Teams users. We've been using it for the last couple of years and find it really valuable, keeping everybody on track even when we're in the office. But now we're, of course, in a very challenging time with everybody working from home. So we've been finding Teams very invaluable right now for keeping everybody on the same page in the office, out of the office, remote, working from home, doesn't matter. Anyway, so we have a lot to get through today, so I'm just going to get started right away. So Microsoft Teams, first and foremost, is messaging and collaboration platform. You can make audio and video calls, host meetings with audio and video, share and collaborate on files, of course, share your screen with others, allow them to take control, as well as message and communicate in groups or privately. So basically what Microsoft has done is really kind of taken the best of what people use with social media right now, messaging and things like that, added in the audio and video functionality as well as the collaboration and file sharing. So very quickly, first off, it's important with Microsoft Teams to understand who has access to it. If you have a Microsoft Office 365 subscription, that does not necessarily mean that Teams is included with it. So if you have a home version of Office 365, it's definitely not included. This is some of the business level Office 365 subscriptions. So this one here, Office 365 Business Premium or Business Essentials, you can see that Teams is one of the services included. But if you have a subscription to Office 365 Business, you can see Teams is missing from here. This is basically a subscription to Office applications. And the key ingredient that's missing is access to Exchange or hosting your email, as well as SharePoint, which is required because SharePoint is basically the back end of Microsoft Teams. If we look at enterprise subscriptions, if you have the E1, E3, or E5 level of Office 365, you can see here that it includes Teams, but if you have Pro Plus, also does not include Teams. So there is also a free version of Teams. Just wanted to highlight a couple of the differences because in a pinch, you can use, and the free version of Teams does have a lot of the same functionality, but here's the main differences between the two. First off, as far as members, you're limited to 300 at the moment. I think they're going to raise this soon. With the free version, the paid version is unlimited. File storage is limited between the free and the paid. Guest access you get at both because you can add in guests to view things and have access to files and Teams and things like that, even if they're not a member of your organization. You can do that in both versions. Audio and video calls you can do with both versions. Participate in meetings with both versions. Share your screen with both versions. But here's where some of the differences come in. Scheduling meetings, because the free version does not include the calendaring feature, you can't schedule meetings. You can still participate, but you cannot schedule meetings. Meeting recordings, again, is only a feature available with the paid version. You do need access to Microsoft Stream as well, which is where recordings go to. Phone calls and audio conferencing is only available, and this is actually an add-on feature even to the paid version of Teams. You can use Teams kind of like a virtual PBX system, a phone system for your business, and make regular outbound dial telephone numbers, do conferencing calls, things like that, all within your Teams. Administration is another place where Teams is a bit different. and it's kind of an important one too, especially for security and ease of administration. The admin tools for managing users and apps is only available with the paid version, because basically it's using Active Directory to manage users and groups and things like that. Usage reporting, the SLA that's included, and then user settings and policies, also only included with the paid version. So a couple things about the free version. First off, the email, you need to use an email to be able to sign up for a Teams account. And the email that you use to sign up cannot already be associated with an Office 365 account. And this might be confusing, but the email that you use must be associated with a Microsoft account. So it can't be associated with one of those Office 365 accounts that doesn't include Teams, but you must be associated or tied to a Microsoft account. So you can use a Gmail address or a Hotmail address, whatever it is. You just have to have a free Microsoft account established with Microsoft, and that email, whatever email you're going to use, has to be tied to it. So if you're stuck in the middle, and let's say you have an Office 365 version that does not include that paid version of Teams, you once you go to sign up, you can still get a 1-year free trial of the full version of Teams and get started that way. But once that year is up, you are going to have to upgrade your version of Teams to one of the subscriptions that includes Teams with it. Okay, so we're going to just jump right into the Teams demo. I'm just going to change screens here. So the first thing we want to do is log in. So when you're first starting out, or if you're using the web version, if you just go to office.com, and once that comes up, you need to sign in. I'm going to show you our kind of a longer method of signing in, because we have two-factor authentication enabled within our Office 365 account. So basically, there's a few different ways to set up two-factor authentication. And one way, which is the way that I'm using right now, is it sends me a code to my mobile device. It's just an extra layer of security that we highly recommend for Office 365. Office 365 has been a big target of threat actors and cyber criminals. And they have lots of ways of fooling people into getting their credentials and then going in and doing all kinds of things. Anyway, so once you do log in, and here's one of the telltale signs of whether you do have licensing for Teams or not. You can see right here, if you have the Teams application, you can launch it right from here. Also within Office 365, through this dot menu over here, you can launch any of the applications as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and launch Teams, and this is, again, the web version of Teams. And once this finishes logging in, the first thing it does is say, hey, why don't you go ahead and download the Teams app? I already have the Teams app downloaded, but I prefer using the Teams app, the desktop app as well. And I'm going to show you what that looks like soon anyways. So if you click here, I can just use the web app instead, and it brings that up. Even if you get in here and you haven't downloaded the web app yet, you can, if you see this icon down here in the lower left, it says download desktop app. Pretty easy, download it, just go through the menus and then just log in, and it works just fine. So this is the paid version. I want to show you really quick logging in for the free version. If you do sign up for the free version, you can find it on the Microsoft Teams page. So I've logged in here to a free account. I have a Hotmail account. And as you can see, when I log into office.com, obviously Teams is not here. So you have to manually go to the Teams site once you're logged in. So you just open up a browser and go to teams.microsoft.com. Hit enter, and it's going to load in Teams. And I've noticed it's taking a few extra seconds. I believe there's lots of people using it. But if you can see here, the menu system between the free version and the paid version is almost identical, with the exception that I have the calendar feature here in the paid version. And I don't know why this is sort of glitching every once in a while, and this the menu is disappearing, but if I was to refresh the screen, it would probably come right back. We'll refresh it because we're going to want to see that a little bit later on anyways. Okay, so let's have let's have a look at the desktop app, because that's what I'm going to probably use for the remainder of the demo. I'm just also going to open it up just so you can see that it is also pretty well identical to the web version as well. As you can see, this looks almost exactly the same, and it has basically all the same functionality. So let's have a look at the interface. Let's go down the menu here on the left. First thing is you have your activity feed. This is all the activity that you have, people mentioning you in comments, people that tag you on particular things, replies to comments, new threads, notifications, things like that. The next thing you have is chat, and chat is basically one-on-one or one-to-many private chat conversations. We'll go through that soon as well. Teams is where most people are going to be working for most of the time, and teams are made up of, or the teams menu here is made up of teams, and teams are basically groups of people. Underneath teams are what's called channels, and channels might be subgroups of people or projects or individual departments or things like that. Next, we have calendar. If you have a paid version and are on Microsoft Outlook and or Exchange, this calendar will sync with your Microsoft calendar, sync and schedule meetings, so you'll see all the same things here. Then there's calls. With calls, you can call people, add people to speed dials, make calling groups. If you have the add-on PBX feature, the phone system functionality within Teams, you would see a keypad here, and you could make outbound phone calls, create conference calls, things like that. Now let's look up across the top. I don't really use this particular menu very much up at the top, but as you can see here, it says if you type a / or an @ symbol, you'll get some more commands. So if I type the /, it gives me a whole bunch of things that I can do. I can /call and call someone, /files and see all of my recent files. If I click on it, it just brings all those up really quickly. I suppose that could be kind of handy. I could also just click on this files thing here. Anyways, as I said, I really don't use that, and the @ is for doing @ mentions. Over here on the right, this is a toggle feature to toggle back and forth between organizations that you're a part of. So Pace Technical is obviously my company, and my main organization, but I'm also a guest member of another organization. So if I wanted to participate in chats and things like that, I just need to toggle, and this is how I toggle back and forth between those organizations. And then you have your account menu over here, which you can see my picture here. You can change your picture, upload a new picture. So let's go through some of the things that you can see here. It shows your status. You can change your status, set a status message. You can view saved messages or posts here, and I'm going to demonstrate that a little bit later. And then there's settings. So I want to go through the menu here just to show you some of the things that you can do. First, you can look at the theme. You can change the background color. I prefer the lighter looking color. A couple of other things you can do: auto start the application when Windows starts, keep it running when it closes, changing your languages. couple of privacy features, turning on Do Not Disturb, Read Receipt notification to other people. And then there's notifications. This is, as you can see, you can get pretty granular about the types of notifications. So you'll always get notifications up in your activity level, but banner notifications are like those desktop pop-ups that pop up down in this lower right-hand corner of your screen. And then email, obviously, getting an email notification. I think generally, by default, the emails only come if you haven't looked at something in a while, and the email is almost like an extra reminder of things that want to come up. But you can change the way you get notifications on lots of things in here, even the notification sounds, and looking at muting those kind of things or changing the sounds and whatnot. Then the next item here is devices. So here's where you can go in and change. There's another place to do this as well, but you can change the audio device if you have multiple sets of speakers, or if you have a headset or a couple of different headsets. If you use a laptop in the office, but out of the office, or a desktop in the office and a laptop out of the office, sometimes you might have to go in and switch back and forth between some of these things, changing your mic, your speakers, your camera. Lastly is permissions of what you allow the app to do, accessing your camera, microphone, and speakers, which is pretty important. And then other things like location, notifications, etc. And then the last thing is some settings that you can have on calls, calling rules, setting up voicemail. If somebody tries to call you through Teams and they don't get you, you can set up voicemail, ringtones, things like that. Okay. So that's kind of a general overview of what things look like, but Teams and chat, I suppose, quite a bit, but Teams is generally where most people are going to spend their time. So this is a look at our teams, and there's several other teams that exist in our company. I'm just not a part of them, but when you click on the Teams menu here, you're just going to see the teams that you're already a part of or that you have joined. So there's basically three types of teams that exist. There's public teams, and public teams are viewable by anybody in your organization, and anybody can join them. I'll show you what one of those looks like in a minute. And there's private teams, and private teams, you can only join a private team if you're added by the owner, or if somebody invites you to join a private team, and you still need to be approved by the owner in order to be a part of that team. And then there's organization-wide teams. So an organization-wide team is a team where all members of your Office 365 account are automatically added to the team. So to give you an example, our PACE Technical General team, you can see up here in the right-hand corner, it says org-wide. So generally, most companies are going to have one org-wide team and or channel that people are a part of. But if I go down here to sales and marketing, this is a private team. And you can see if I hover over here, channel content is only accessible to team members. If I go down here to social committee, this one here is accessible to anybody in the organization that wants to join the team. So how do you join or become part of a team? Like I said before, someone may have added you or invited you, or you might need to search and manually join a team. So let's look at how you join and or create a team. So right down here is a link, it says right there, join or create a team. Once I click on it, first item here is to create a team. I can also from here join a team with a code, or if there's any public teams that are available that I'm not a part of yet, they're going to show up here and they're going to give me an option to join those. That's a simple one we could look at really quick, just joining an existing public team. So this is an emergency preparedness team for things like disaster planning and things like that. We're trying to encourage membership there. So I'll go ahead and join this team and all I have to do is click on it, and you'll see that it's added here. Now you'll notice that right away, without doing anything, there's already one channel, the general channel, and that by default gets added for every team. You don't need to add any more channels. If you don't have any particular reason to, you can just use the general channel for whatever team that you're in. But now I want to show you how you create a new team just from scratch. So you just click on this link here, create team, and you have two options. The first option is to build a team from scratch, which we're going to do in a second, or you can create a team from either an existing team, and that might be useful if you maybe have a large company and you just want to clone another team because it's easier than manually going back in and trying to add all the members. And then maybe you can edit or adjust as necessary the membership of that other team, and you're just going to give it a new name. The other way is creating from an existing Office 365 group. So if you're a company that's a SharePoint, that uses SharePoint heavily, you may already have some SharePoint groups set up. Or if you have created groups within Outlook or within Microsoft Exchange, those could be existing as well. And you can create a group, a team from any of those already established groups. But what's going to be pretty common is just building a team from scratch. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So once I click on that, I have three options. Again, I can make it a private team, so people would need permission to be able to join, or I would need to add them as the team owner. Or a public group, anybody can join, or org-wide. For this one, I'm going to make it a public group. Let's click there. Next thing here, you just give it a name. So I'm thinking about starting a book club because I want people to read a little bit more and get more educated. So you just type in a team name. You can put in a description if you want. I'm just going to skip that for now. Click on the create button. It's now creating the team. Nice work, of course. And the first thing it's going to do is ask you if you want to add members to the book club. So it's pretty simple to do that. If you just start typing in names, it's going to pull up, and it has access to everybody that's within your Office 365 organization. So really easily, just start typing in a name. It comes up, you click add, and there you go. Now they're a member of the team. So I can also, right after owning them, I can change their membership level to an owner if I wanted to. I'm not going to change that right now, but I'll show you how to modify members a little bit later, just so you can see how you do that. So now the team is created here. I can also, if I wanted to add additional members, I can go right here to this three-dot menu next to book club, and I can click on add members. So I can also invite members to this team. I could get a link to the team right here and copy this link, open up an email and send it out to whoever I wanted to. And that would give them a link to be able to join the team. So anybody that is a part of this team can invite others, but only the team owner can approve. Now this is a public group, so anybody can actually join this group, but in a private group, only any member can send out that link, but the owner would still have to approve. So that's one way that you can do it. There's another way that you can join a team, or sorry, create a team. Again, I can create a team from an existing Office 365 group or a team. We don't have any groups set up, but I could have clicked team here and just selected another team to clone it. The other way is joining with a code. I'm just going to show you where that exists. So first off, I'd have to go to manage the team and settings, and there's a setting here for team code. The first time you create a team, the code doesn't exist, so you just click on the generate button and it generates this code. So basically you can just copy this code and send it in an email to anybody and says, hey, we just started a new book club, so go ahead and use this code to join it. So anybody then would just go back here to join or create a team, and they would just come to join a team with the code, paste that code in here, click join team, and then they would be a part of that team. So let's just look at managing the team again. So the first area is managing members. I'll show you this in a little bit more detail in a minute. I could manage the channels. I can add a channel from here, delete channels. And then there's particular settings within the team as well. So team picture, I can change the team picture. I can manage permissions of the team, allowing what people can do. Can they create channels? Can they create private channels, etc.? Get pretty granular there. Guest permissions, by default, guests can't create or delete channels. You have to activate that there. At mentions, this is a way to notify other people to specific posts or documents or things like that, and use at mentions. I'll show you how that works in a little bit. I've already talked about the team code. And then there's fun stuff. You have to decide if you want to allow people to use GIFs, stickers, animated memes, and things like that, just to make posting a little bit more fun. And then tags. Tags are a way to identify individual users within the organization and easily be able to tag to be able to message people a little bit quicker. So you can also add guest members from outside your organization. I'll just show you that here. So here's how you can add additional members as well. It's basically the same view as when I initially started the team. But once you come in here, I can start typing in the name of members of our group, or I can just start typing in the name of, or sorry, the email address of someone that does not exist. So if they don't exist in our Office 365 account, it's going to recognize that, and it's going to ask you if you want to add that person as a guest. So, and guests would be people from outside your organization. I really don't know Mike at mike.com, but if I would have clicked here and said add, it would have added him in and gave him a notification that he's part of the team. So I'm just going to close out of this. But now under one of our teams, or I mentioned to you that I'm a guest of another organization. So if I wanted to go and see that, I would just toggle up here. But I've added in my personal account as a guest in here to the sales and marketing team. So if I just come back in here, and hopefully this will cooperate with me. Just give it a second here to jump back in. And you could see right here that I have access right here to the sales and marketing group within Pace Technical. And you can also toggle again back and forth between groups as well. But I can participate in meetings and chat and things like that right here, even through my free account, or if you're a guest user. So guests can't be invited to meetings and they don't have that calendar access, but they can still participate and be invited in meetings, etc. Okay, so that's a general overview of the team section. So managing members in the team, I said I wanted to go through that. So again, under manage team, the first item on here is managing members. So any member of this team can see and view all the members, but only the team owner can edit members. So a few things that you can do: delete members from here, just hitting the X. I can change the access level for members if I want, and upgrade somebody to an owner. By default, you can have 2 owners to any team, and there could be some advantage to using 2 owners, just in case if, let's say for right now in the sales and marketing group, if I'm away on vacation and we needed to add a member or give guest access or something like that to another member, and I'm not available to approve someone, then that might hinder our ability to involve that other person. Whereas if we had 2 owners, hopefully one of them would be around to be able to make some approvals. One thing I will caution you against is that even if you are the owner, you can click this download or this menu and downgrade yourself to a member, which would kind of lock you out of the administrative access to this group. So that's kind of important. The other thing, you can also add members, obviously, from this menu here. And then if you are the owner of a private group or a private team, and somebody makes a request to join that private team, they would show up here under pending requests. So this is also something that a standard user won't see. The standard user will also not see the settings menu under individual teams as well. So one other thing that you can do is edit the team, also through this same 3-dot menu. You can change the team name, change the description, and also change the access level of a team to a private team or an organization-wide team if you wanted to. You can also hide a team. I'll just show you here. I have one hidden team. This was a conference that several of us from our company went to and attended, and it was a great way for everybody to keep on the same page, communicate, travel plans, lunches, dinners, things like that. Also a way for us to share notes and connections that we made at the conference. But the conference is over now. I don't need it at the moment. I still am not ready to delete it. So I just hid it for the moment. Have it hidden. If I wanted to, I can click on this show button right here and it would come right back up into my regular view. You can also leave a team. Again, same menu. Anybody that's a part of a team can just click on leave team right here. Once you leave a team, you can also go back and rejoin the team after. That's not a problem. And then you can also delete a team just by selecting this here right down to the menu. One of the things about that, if you delete a team, it will delete all of the channels, files, and everything else that's been associated with that individual team. So before you delete something, you're going to want to make sure you're absolutely ready to do that. Okay, so that's basically the overview on Teams. The next thing really with Teams is channels. In channels, I mean, Teams is where you define the people. Channels is really where all the activity takes place. So that's where you're going to do the messaging and collaboration and things like that with all the other members of your team. You can make channels private or public. So just by selecting this 3-dot menu here, this is how you can set up and add a new channel. Anybody that's a member of a team can add a channel in the team unless you have them restricted through the backend settings. But all you have to do is go here and click add a channel. So let's say for the social committee, I wanted to start a new PACE band. We got a lot of musical people here. Again, type in a description, and here's where you have the option of making it just accessible to everybody, or if you want to make it a private channel. So for right now, I'm just going to say that that this one is going to be just a standard channel. I could automatically show this in everyone's channel list if I wanted to. I'm just going to leave it where it is and click add. And here we go. You see that the new paste band has been added. Now I can go in here and change settings and manage the channel, add people, etc. But let's have a look at, let's say I wanted to create a private channel. So I would go here to add channel, and under sales and marketing, let's say I have some good sales leads, and I don't want to be giving my good leads out to just everybody. So I'm going to make this a private channel because I don't want everybody to be able to see it. So I just make it private. I hit next, sets up the channel. And as it's a private channel, it's going to come up and ask me, you know, who do I want to add? So I know Luke, he's a real good sales guy. So we're going to add Luke to this team, or sorry, this channel, and he's now going to get a notification that that he's a part of this channel. So you'll notice now on a private channel that this little lock shows up next to it, designating that it is private, so not everybody is going to see that one. So you can't, as far as deleting channels, you can't delete the general channel. It's there by default. But if I wanted to go in and delete this channel, I could. Again, as a reminder, once you delete a channel, any of the chat or message history, as well as file history, and you see, obviously Luke knows he's part of the team and he's already responded, which is great. So really the main activity that happens in channels is conversations. So this is the general view of our general sales and marketing channel, let's say. And down here is where you would go to start a new conversation. And up above, you can see all the conversation history. So in channels, and one of the great things about having messaging back and forth within a company in teams is that it eliminates you from, you know, constantly sending emails back and forth to internal people. And if you're constantly sending emails back and forth to internal people, it's hard to track, especially if emails about a particular topic and the thread starts getting long and really, you know, messing up your email inbox. Whereas in teams and in channels, you can have separate conversations and threads of topics and information and keep it all nice and neat in one section. So let's just say I wanted to start a new conversation here in our sales and marketing team. We need a new logo color. Any ideas? Let's say I wanted to throw that out. So I could just hit the send button right now and send it as it is, but I also want to format the message. So the first option just underneath the messaging here is for formatting. If you click on that, you can see you get a lot of the standard formatting that you would in like Word and those things. So if I wanted to bold something, make it italicized, etc., bullets, numbering, any of those kind of things. But one of the other good features once you click on formatting within channels, which is a little bit different from chat, and I'm going to show you the difference there in a minute, is I can make a subject. So I'm going to call it new logo color, and I'm going to hit send. And now this is going to go out as a new thread, and my teammates in this channel, and there they go, are already going to start responding with their ideas. So best practice here is that you use the reply button once a new thread is started. That you use the reply button, it keeps all the correspondence and information nice and neat and tidy just under this one category. And I can even reply to it and say, you know, something silly about How about yellow? And see how they respond. um, so there's a couple of other things that you can do within messages. If you want to, I mentioned at mentions before. So if I wanted to, call someone's attention to this, I can start with the at symbol, and it's already going to start bringing up suggestions of all the people that are a member of this team. So I can do it, let's say, with Mary Ellen. Mary Ellen, I like your idea. I could have also reacted to her message. She's going to get a notification now that she's been mentioned here, and it's going to show in her activity. But in any message, if you see, if I just hover over someone's message, it gives me some other options. So if I didn't have anything to say and I just wanted to react to a message or acknowledge it, I might just click on the like button, so I can click the thumbs up that I like what she had to say, the love, the other emojis. And then there's another small menu that you can use here for messages as well. So if I click this little menu here, one thing I can do is save this message. I'll show you what that looks like right now. So if I just click on save this message, if you look up here right near my account, you see this little tag that says saved. So if I wanted to view this saved message, I can come back up here to my account and click on saved, and it's going to show me all of the saved messages that I have. So if I'm done looking at it, I don't need it saved anymore. I can just click on this little icon here to unsave it, or I can just go back into that same message and thread, go back to this little icon here or the menu and click unsave. Couple other things that I can do with a message: mark it unread. I can copy a link to this thread if I wanted to send to somebody else, share to Outlook in an email. Couple of other things that you can do. Well, I had mentioned at mentions. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Mary Ellen to do an at mention of me somewhere, just to show what that looks like, maybe in one of our other teams that she's a part of. All right, so she just did it here, and you can see that I'm going to get a notification right here. I would have also gotten a notification up here, but because I'm already on the screen, it doesn't light up in my activity. But normally, if it was somewhere else that I wasn't looking at the moment, it would have lit up with the number 1 next to this, and I would have clicked on it and it would show me right here. There we go. And now Mary Ellen did mention me somewhere else, so you'll notice that it comes up here as well, and I can click and have a look at that whenever I wanted to. A couple of other things within conversations. The paperclip down here is for attaching a file. We're going to go through attaching files and file sharing in just a few minutes. A couple of other things: I can attach emojis if I wanted to. I click this here, you have a whole bunch of options that you can put in, again, to add a little bit of personality maybe to your message. I could put in an animated GIF to react to a message. I can also put in a sticker if I wanted to. Let's say I wanted to use this. Let's say this one right here. And the cool thing about stickers is that you can customize them. And I click done, goes right in here. If I'm, hey you, or whatever you want to do. But that's kind of a cool feature. The other thing you can do within channels and the messaging feature of channels is start a meeting, as well as access Microsoft Stream. We're going to look at meetings in just a minute. So the next thing I wanted to show you, we're going to come back to channels in just a second, but just wanted to show you chat and the differences between the messaging in Teams and channels and chat. So if I click into chat here, let's say I go into this thread here with Mary Ellen. So with chat, you can chat individually with one person, or you can chat with more than one person. I mean, we use the team and channels feature quite a bit, but also the private channels for conversations is something that we use quite a bit as well. So if I go up here to this little menu next to chat, a couple of things that I can do: mark it unread. I can also pin it to the top. So let's say I have conversations with Mary Ellen quite a bit. I can pin this up to the top for easy access, especially if you have a lot, kind of like I do, of conversations going on. You can see the messaging is somewhat similar, but this is more of a standard type messaging format where you're not really grouping things by category or by topic. It's just a straight, chat down the line by line. And once I go to the formatting here, you'll see that I can't put in a topic of a message as well. So that's the main, couple of the main differences between the chatting feature here and the one in Teams. A couple of other things that I can do within chat. I can, up here on the top right, I can start a video call or an audio call with that person. I can share my screen with that person, or I can add additional people into a conversation. I'm going to demo real quick doing a call. So we're just going to do a video call with Mary Ellen right now. Any second now, she's going to answer. Hey, Mary Ellen, how you doing? Good. As you can see now, I get a little menu that pops up here where I can turn my camera off and back on again if I wanted to. When I'm in a video call, I can turn my audio or mute my audio, especially if you're in a group call. If you have some background noise or things like that going on, you can mute that. I can also share my screen. You can do this on an individual call or group calls. I'll just show what that looks like. So you have the option to share your entire desktop. When you do that, it'll share every application that you have open. But if you just wanted to show one thing and you didn't want to show everything you have going on your desktop, you can just choose an individual window. So you have to have the window open first, but you can open just a Teams window or a web window or an Office documents window, Word, things like that, and it'll just display that one thing. One interesting thing, when you share PowerPoint, if you're sharing a PowerPoint screen, it basically will go into presentation mode so that you can go through and share a presentation with the team that you're working with. There's another little menu here that you can access. So I can show device settings. We saw those earlier, but even when you're in the middle of a call, you can adjust your device settings. You might jump on a call and you'll be speaking and people will say, hey, I can't hear you. Maybe you have more than one microphone and you just need to go in here and toggle that. Same thing with speakers. If you change and you're wearing all of a sudden a headset and the sound is coming out of your computer, again, just go up here and toggle to that. Same thing with your webcam. I'll just close that guy. Also, go into full screen mode, put things on hold. You can also blur your background. I'm going to ask Mary Ellen to go ahead and blur her background. Especially right now, pretty handy when people are working from home, especially if you have distractions behind you at home, people moving around. Even if you're in an office environment, maybe you don't have a private office and you're in a large area where people might be walking back and forth. Nice to blur your screen and blur your background just so other people don't get distracted by that. Yeah. Also, within a video call, you can click on this show conversation, and conversations can be handy if you're calling with many people and you have something to say, you don't want to interrupt someone, or maybe you have a web link that you want to pop in to share with the group, and that's an easy way to share it. While you're on a call, you can click and show participants that are in the call, and you can also just invite somebody from right here to add into the call. So that's a pretty good look at the calls. So I'm going to go ahead and hang up with Mary Ellen, but I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of her. Bye, Mary Ellen. Okay, so we're just going to click there and hang up the call. So there's a couple of other things that I wanted to show you within chat. One of them is, let's say I have a private chat going with one person, or let's say two people. I'm just going to find one here. Okay, let's say this one. And I want to add in an additional person. So as I said before, up here you can view and add participants into a chat. So I just click here. It shows that the three of us are part of this. And if I want to add someone, I can click right here to add people. Now, once I have this, two people already established, and I want to add a third, it gives me some options. So first off, I could just start typing a name and add someone in, but I have the option to either not include any of the previous chat history that we had, just in case there was something sensitive that I don't want the new person to see, or maybe there is some information, let's say within the last day or number of days, that I would like this person to see because it is pertinent to the conversation, or maybe it's important enough that I just want to include this person now into all the conversations that me and the other person have been having in the past. So I can go ahead and add that in there. Also from here, you can leave a conversation as well. I could also do that from this little menu here as well, right next to whatever chat that you're on. If you have a chat with one person going and you go to add another person, it doesn't give you the same options. It basically is just going to keep this original chat that you had going and start a brand new chat from scratch with you and the two new people now. The other thing that you can do within chat is you can make a title to the chat, which is handy if you have a group of people and you want to access it easily. Instead of looking through a bunch of names, it's easier to see if you have a title. We have one going for our sales marketing team. And how you would do that is once you have your chat open, you just go, to the name, and you see a little pencil right next to the names in your group chat. Click on that little pencil, type a group name, hit save, and it will put that group name in, so it might be a little bit easier for you to find. So let's go back to Teams. Now I want to talk about meetings, because meetings, especially right now when all of our people have been sent to work from home, and I'll say even in the past while when we've even been hosting teams in the meetings in the office, and occasionally we have some team members that are on the road, or some people that might be sick and or working from home for whatever reason, and it's a great way to keep people all on the same page. So I had mentioned before that just down here, this little video camera underneath a message. So Teams are both, you can have both start an on-demand meeting at any time, as well as you can have scheduled meetings. So once I click on this little icon here, it's going to bring me up a window. I can click Meet Now, but I also have the option before I start the meeting, if I want to turn my camera on or off. Let's say I'm having a bad hair day, or I have the option here, if I didn't want to meet right now and I wanted to schedule a meeting, I can do that from here. But for right now, I'm going to just do the Meet Now, and we're going to do this with my sales and marketing team. So once I click on that Meet Now link, it is going to send or pop up a notification within our messaging, within that Teams channel, letting everybody know that a meeting has started and there's going to be a link to join the team. So here we have Mary Ellen, who you all know, and Luke, who have just clicked and joined the meeting. And then there's Tom as well. So we've already kind of gone through pretty much everything is the same in this menu when you're in a group meeting, with one exception, that I can go right here to this 3-dot menu and I can click start recording. So recording meetings is great if you have some members that maybe can't make the meeting, so you can record it and make it available to them to watch at a later time. And that recording will get posted just in that messaging section of whatever channel that you're in once it's done and saved after the fact. I'm not going to click start recording now because I'm already recording something else. I don't want to break my computer. And we've already gone through all the other things, including screen sharing and things like that. So I'm going to hang up this meeting, but I'll say goodbye, guys. But I also wanted to demo somebody else starting a meeting so that I can show you what that looks like, because I'll both get a notification as well as just here in the messaging feed, I'm going to have an opportunity to join that meeting when it comes up. And you'll see that a historical entry of that meeting will also show up, and how the duration of the meeting and who was a part of that meeting when it happened. So any second now, we should be getting a link to join, and here it is. So it looks like Mary Ellen has started a meeting, so I'm going to click on the join link here. Again, I have the option to turn my camera off and my mic off just in case. Click join now. And here we are, we're back in the meeting. All right. Thanks, Mel. Bye again. Okay, so those were both on-demand meetings. So we just started those at the moment. We also heavily use scheduled meetings. So as I showed you before, you could click on the little icon here and click schedule a meeting instead of meet now. And now this brings up a pretty familiar looking Outlook calendar entry. So I can put in the title of whatever the meeting is. I'm not going to do it right now. For attendees, I could just start typing in names of people, especially if they weren't a part of this team. When I do it from a channel within a team, it already is going to populate that channel and automatically be inviting all the members of that channel. I could, of course, delete this if I want and change and just invite individuals. Or maybe there's 1 or 2 people that aren't a part of our channel and I want to add additional people. I can do that right up here. The time, date, duration of the meeting. I can make it a recurring meeting as well, just like with any other Outlook calendar item. But I'm not going to schedule this one here. I'm going to show you the other way that you can schedule a meeting. So I'm going to close that. So the other way that you can schedule a meeting is within your calendar. So if I wanted to just, let's say, schedule a sales meeting for later this afternoon. Oops. Watch the caps lock. And I could either individually add attendees. So as you can see, once I'm going the calendar route, I haven't started that from a channel, so it doesn't yet know if I want to invite a whole channel or not. So I can do the same thing, add additional individual attendees. Date and time is all the same, repeatable or whatnot. And then I can go here to click for add channel. And for me, I want it to be a sales meeting under the general. So actually, that wasn't the right one. So I want to click that again to open up sales and marketing, general. So I have my channel, so it's going to invite all the members that are a part of the sales and marketing team to this meeting. I could put in details, format things, if there was a location to put in, etc., and just click send now. So that's going to both put it on my calendar as well as send a meeting invite now to all those all those attendees via email, and it'll populate once they accept the meeting onto their calendars. So here's one that we did earlier in the week, just to show you that once you click on a calendar item, when you make a Microsoft Teams meeting, it gives you a link to be able to join the meeting right here. So whenever it's meeting time, you're probably going to get a notification or a reminder from Outlook to join the meeting, and then you just open up that calendar item and click on Join Teams Meeting, and you'll be a part of that meeting. So I'm going to close that for now. The other way that you can join a meeting is just from your Outlook calendar itself. So you'll notice up here, just when you open calendars within Outlook, there is an icon up here to create a new Teams meeting. I won't do it there. If you just open up a new appointment, you also have the option to create a Teams meeting. So I'm going to click there to format it as a Teams meeting, and I can do the same thing, title. I can start adding and inviting attendees individually. Anybody that's a part of my Outlook and Office 365 will come up once I start typing names in. The one thing that you can't do when you're doing it from Outlook, unless you already have Outlook groups or SharePoint groups that align with your teams, you can't use those Teams groups from here. At least I haven't found a way to do it yet. So you basically have to just invite everybody individually from here. And that's the other way. I'm not going to, no, yes, I want to delete it. So let's go back to Teams. So the next thing that I wanted to show you is files and file sharing. So that's also a great feature. It's also a feature of SharePoint as well. If you know that, SharePoint and OneDrive and whatnot, you can post as well as collaborate and work together on files. You can do the same thing within Teams. So if I wanted to add a file to Teams, I can do that both in chat as well as just in individual channels within Teams. So let's say I wanted to add a file here in the sales and marketing general channel. I would just click on this attach icon here. I could either look at recent files, find things on OneDrive, or upload from my computer, which will show me everything. I'm just going to click on recent to see what recent files I have available. And let's just say I wanted to upload this keywords document. If I go ahead and go to upload a copy of that, once it's done uploading to the message, I can click here to send. And now this keywords document is going to be available to anybody within the team. You can open it up and click on this document to open it. You could also open this menu here if you wanted to download a copy of it from here, edit it within Teams, etc. Get a link to it to send to somebody from outside the organization. So once you, even if you post a document into just an individual conversation here, it's also going to add the document up here into files. So once I click on files, you can see that that keywords document has already been added to the files. So now the files are going to be different and separate for each individual team and channel within the teams. So if I click down here on Teams webinar and I go to those files, you can see that they're going to be different. Just keeps everything separate and tidy. if I go to files over here on the main menu to the left, I can see all the files that I have access to that have been shared as per my membership to all these different teams or chat sessions. But if I just come back in here into sales and marketing and general and go back to files, so you can see a list of the files here. Now, one of the cool things that you can do is, let's say you have a file that's an important file that you're going to be working on quite a bit, and maybe you have a lot of files. We don't have that many in here right now, but let's say that this website text was a really important file that we were going to be working on quite a bit. And I wanted to make that easily accessible to a whole bunch of other people. What you can do is, you'll see up here, there's a little plus sign here to add a tab. So I can click this plus sign, and there's lots of different tabs that you can add. It doesn't necessarily have to be a document. You can add a whole document library from your SharePoint if you wanted to. There's other apps that you can add in. You can add in Power BI to add like graphs and reporting and things like that. Or you can add in a whole slew of apps to make certain apps easily accessible to the members in your team. But a pretty common one is just posting and pinning basically a file to the top so everybody can see it really easily and work on it. So for this one, I'm going to make it a Word doc. And I have the option to change the name of it. I'm not going to change it just yet. But if I click, let's say this website text, and click Save, now it's going to add this document as a tab up at the top within this general channel. So once I go on the channel, I can see everything up here, and now I can easily just click where it says Word, but I don't want to call it Word, so I'm going to rename this and call it what it is, website text, and click Save. And there you go, it changes the name up there. So from this drop down, a couple of other settings that you can change with it. I can make it a different doc if I wanted to under this one tab. I can rename it, and I can also remove it as well. Now, clicking remove only removes the tab. It doesn't remove the document. So the other thing I wanted to show you is that multiple people can be editing a document at the same time. As you can see here, Mary Ellen is also within this document right now, making some edits or changes. So initially her initials will show up, and if I hover, I can see her name. And while she's working on it, she can see my name on it. And as you can see her typing here, and we can see her making edits. Any of the files that are within Microsoft Teams, they get auto-saved when you're working on them. So if it's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, any of those, you don't even have to go and hit a save button. It auto-saves all those documents for you. Couple of other things that you can do within the files menu here. You can download files. So if I select here, I can go up to the top, get a link to that file. I can download files, delete files, etc. Open them in SharePoint, rename them. Up here, the first option is for a new document. So I could start a new Office document from scratch. So a Word doc, Excel, PowerPoint, and it'll open up and just generate a blank file that I can start and create from scratch if I wanted to. And then there's a little 3-dot menu right next to the file. I can copy a link, download, pin to the top, etc. Copy more things with all of these files. So it's not necessarily important for people to know, but there's files that are stored within Teams are stored in SharePoint. Files that are uploaded and stored in chat are stored in your individual Office 365 OneDrive. Not necessarily important for individual users, but if you are an administrator or one of the technical people, it's important more so from a backup perspective. So if we look at files within chat, basically, work the same way. You can add, and you can see Mary Ellen and I have several tabs. So even in your chat, you can add additional tabs and make files accessible up at the top. When I click on files, you can see all the files, download these files, etc., share these files, work on these files together as well, just as you can within Teams. So the next thing I wanted to show you is the activity feed. So the activity feed is literally just that, showing you all the activities that have gone on. You can see the little icon next to him, a thumbs up. So somebody reacted, somebody made a post in a channel I'm a part of, somebody mentioned me, somebody replied to a post, all those kind of things show up here. You can click on any of these activities and it'll take you right to that location. So it's your notifications that designate, what kind of things that you're going to see in your feed and what kind of things that you get desktop notifications to. We saw in the account menu up here how you can get pretty granular up here within settings, and down here notifications, and you could change a whole bunch of things. But one thing I do need to highlight within Teams is that for individual teams, by default, once you start a new team, I'm sorry, the channels, there's an option here in the menu right next to each individual channel for channel notifications. So if it's a really important channel for you, you want to go back in and make sure that you get both banner and feed notifications. Feed notifications are only going to light up a little number in your activity. And if you're moving around and working on a lot of things and maybe not necessarily in Teams all the time, you might not notice. But if you have banner notifications activated, you'll get pop-ups on your desktop, which you're probably going to want to have if it's part of a very important channel or group that you're a part of. So just here in this little drop down here, you can also turn channel notifications off. Even if you're a part of a channel, it's not so important for you to be alerted of everything that's going on, but occasionally you just want to go back in and see the activity. You can turn all the notifications off for that particular channel, and then you won't be bothered at all by it, but on your own time, you can go back in and look at things. But that's kind of an important one. We found out when we first started using Teams, and there was important things going on, and I, in particular, was getting yelled at that I wasn't responding to things that I should have been responding to that were very important, and I just wasn't noticing them. Let's see. A couple other things that I wanted to talk about with Teams. We already talked about two-factor authentication, but I wanted to stress again that that's very important with Office 365. Utilize two-factor authentication if you can. Talk to your IT people and ask them how you go ahead and get that activated. The other thing is backups, which we really haven't talked about much, but Office 365, I believe, only has a 90-day retention date. A retention rate on data. So that means if you delete something, whether it's in your Office 365, files, OneDrive, or whatnot, once you delete it after 90 days, it's basically gone for good. But if you're a company that has any kind of compliance requirements to keep files or information, even history, and certainly all of your team's information for more than 90 days, even if it's deleted, there are third-party applications and solutions that can back up your data. The one that we use, we have the option to do either a 1-year retention on all Office 365 data, including Teams, which includes all of your everything from messaging to files, etc. As well, we can do infinite retention on it as well and just keep it perpetually and go back to anything that we need to get restored from a backup. So that's everything that I kind of wanted to show you within the Teams itself. One of the things, so I'm just going to jump back into my PowerPoint here, is the mobile application, which I also and we also use extensively too. I've only put up a couple of screenshots here. You can still do most of the same things through the mobile app. But a couple of screens I wanted to point out. So this is what the team screen looks like when you download the mobile app. You can see down here at the bottom, you still have the menu items, your activity, your private chats, all of your teams, as well as all of the channels underneath all of those teams, making calls, accessing your files. So all of that is accessible, adding things, changing your settings. There's also another drop-down menu up here to do different things. This second screenshot is in an individual chat. One of the things you can't do when you're in Teams, I believe, is to start a meeting, or at least it's not as easy to start a meeting. When you're in individual chats with one or more people, you can just come up here to this video icon or telephone icon, and with one click, start a video conference with all of the people within that individual private chat or a phone call as well. But all the messaging still works the same way. You can attach files, pictures, do @ mentions, all of those things, video calls, etc. So the mobile app is also a very powerful tool to have, especially when you're on the go. But that is everything that I wanted to show you guys today. If there was any other questions or whatnot that you might have, you can direct those to me, Mike at pacetechnical.com. Any questions that you had on Teams or any IT questions in general or challenges that you might be having, certainly would love to hear from you. But with that, I will sign off and say all the best and hope to speak to you all soon. Take care now.